When people imagine China, nightlife isn't usually the first thing that comes to mind. They picture temples, tea houses, and high speed trains. But what you don't realize until you've lived it is that once the sun goes down, China transforms. Whole streets light up, people spill out of restaurants after long dinners, and pockets of energy appear all over the city. It's not the same as Bangkok or Manila, where nightlife dominates the culture, but it has its own rhythm. And if you know where to look, you'll find yourself in places that feel electric, surprising, and unforgettable. For foreigners, nightlife in China is something of a paradox. On one hand, you can easily feel like the center of attention. You walk into a bar in Shanghai or a trendy club in Chengdu, and you'll notice eyes following you. Not in a hostile way, but in a curious one. You stand out. Your presence is unusual, sometimes exotic, and depending on where you are, people are either shyly watching or openly excited to talk to you. On the other hand, China's nightlife isn't built around foreigners the way it is in tourist driven Southeast Asian hotspots. You're stepping into their world, and the energy you feel comes from being a guest in an ecosystem that was built by and for locals. Let's start with the fun side, because for all the challenges foreigners face in China, the truth is, if you want to enjoy yourself at night, you absolutely can. In big cities like Shanghai, nightlife feels global. Walk into a rooftop bar in the Bund, and you're just as likely to meet a French banker, an American exchange student, or a local Chinese girl who speaks perfect English and has traveled to 5 countries. The vibe here is cosmopolitan. You can find electronic music clubs, live jazz bars, speakeasies hidden behind noodle shops, and craft beer houses that could rival Berlin. The women who go to these places are usually more international in mindset, and if you're a foreigner, you're not an oddity, you're part of the mix. But outside of Shanghai or Beijing, things take a different turn. In cities like Chengdu, Chongqing, or Kunming, nightlife has a more local flavor. Walk into a bar there, and you might be the only foreigner in the room. The energy is less about being polished and international and more about people letting go, drinking heavily, singing loudly, and dancing without self consciousness. In Chengdu, tea houses by day turn into thumping clubs by night. And if you're in your 40s or 50s, you might be surprised how easy it is to strike up conversations because the women there are curious. They want to know why you came, what you do, and what you think of their city. Then there's student nightlife. China's university culture is serious by day, but once exams are over, students flood out into karaoke bars, small dance clubs, and casual lounges. If you're a foreigner around a campus area, you'll quickly realize how approachable people can be. Women in their 20s are eager to practice English, curious about your life, and often open to casual encounters in a way that's not tied down by traditional expectations. Of course, there are cultural lines you have to respect, but if you're respectful and playful, this can be one of the easiest ways to meet people who genuinely want to connect with you. Now let's talk about where foreigners actually have fun. Because in every city, there are layers. You have the polished expat bars where drinks are expensive and English is spoken everywhere. They're safe, easy, and full of other foreigners. If you want comfort and quick connections, they're a good starting point. But if you want the real experience, you have to go deeper into the places where locals go. That might be a smoky KTV room where you're the only outsider, but everyone shoves a microphone in your hand and begs you to sing. It could be a crowded hot pot restaurant at 2 a.m. where you bond over spicy food and cheap beer. It could be a street barbecue stall in Wuhan where laughter mixes with clinking bottles and someone's cousin insists on introducing you to her friends. These are the spots where the lines between nightlife and daily life blur, where people are relaxed and where meeting women feels natural. What surprises most foreigners is that nightlife in China isn't always about alcohol or clubs. Sometimes it's about shared activities. People go to late night arcades, rooftop cinema screenings, or simply wander pedestrian streets with a drink in hand. Women here are often more open to meeting someone in these relaxed environments than in the chaotic setting of a nightclub. If you're over 50, this is actually an advantage. You're not trying to compete with 20-something guys in a bass-thumping club. You can shine in spaces where conversation and curiosity matter more than dancing. Another fun discovery is the festival nightlife. Chinese cities love throwing themed nights, from beer festivals in Qingdao to electronic music weekends in Shenzhen. These events are golden for foreigners because they create a melting pot where strangers mingle, people are less guarded, and everyone's in the mood for something spontaneous. Walk in alone, and you'll probably leave with 5 new WeChat contacts and maybe a date for tomorrow. And let's not forget the role of music. China has exploded with underground scenes. Rock bars in Beijing's hutongs, techno clubs in Shanghai warehouses, and indie stages in Chengdu are pulling in young, adventurous women who are open to meeting people outside their usual circles. If you love music, this is a natural bridge. It gives you something to talk about, something to share, and often an easy way to bond without needing perfect Mandarin. So, where do foreigners really find the sweet spot? It's not in the giant, overpriced nightclubs where VIP tables dominate and the girls who approach you are probably working. It's not in the places where tourists flock. It's in the mid-range spots, the rooftop bars, the student areas, the live music venues, the casual lounges, the late-night restaurants. It's in the spaces where people are there to relax, laugh, and be human. For many first-time visitors, it's easy to assume nightlife here works the same way it does in the West. You see a bar, you walk in, you strike up a conversation, maybe it leads somewhere. But in China, there are more moving parts. Nightlife isn't just about fun, it's also about status, money, and appearances. And if you're not careful, what feels like an exciting night can turn into a story you'd rather forget. Let's start with the most obvious layer: the professional nightlife industry. Walk into a flashy club in Beijing or Guangzhou, and the attention you get might not be what you think it is. The woman who seems overly interested in you, she might be a freelancer, not attached to the club officially, but working the floor looking for clients. Many foreigners confuse this interest for genuine attraction, only to realize later that the night had a price tag. Then you have the KTV world, a universe of its own. Karaoke TV isn't just singing songs with friends. In many cities, it doubles as a semi-professional escort scene. Hostesses are hired to keep the mood lively, pour drinks, flirt, and sometimes more if the deal is negotiated. Foreigners often walk in unprepared, thinking it's just about singing, but quickly realize they've stepped into a performance where every smile is calculated. Some hostesses are genuinely sweet and curious. Others are working with an eye on your wallet. And this is where it gets tricky, because nightlife in China blurs the line between genuine interest and financial motivation in ways that can be confusing for outsiders. A woman may sit with you, laugh, touch your arm, and tell you she finds you attractive. But underneath, the question lingers: is she here for me or for the money? Sometimes it's both. Sometimes it's neither, and you were simply a convenient target. It's not just the hostesses. Freelancers in clubs, especially in Tier 1 cities, are skilled at spotting foreigners who don't know the rules. They'll approach, they'll charm, and before you know it, you're buying overpriced bottles, paying for taxis, or funding a new iPhone story. For older foreigners, the danger is even greater because the combination of curiosity and vulnerability makes you stand out. If you're over 50, you might be approached not because you're exotic, but because you're assumed to have deeper pockets. Then there's the issue of scams and setups. Some bars operate on commission systems where local women are encouraged to sit with foreigners and order drinks, each drink adding a cut to their income. You think you're sharing a fun night, she's quietly running up your tab. Others are more predatory, like the infamous tea house scam, where you're invited to a casual drink only to face a bill that could drain a week's salary. And yet, here's the paradox. Even knowing all this, nightlife in China still offers genuine opportunities. Because hidden between the hostesses and the freelancers, there are also women who really are curious, who really do want to meet you, and who don't care about money. They're not the loudest, they're not the flashiest, but they're there. Maybe she's the quiet woman at the edge of a karaoke room who prefers talking to you instead of singing. Maybe she's the student who wanted to practice her English and ended up staying until 3 a.m. just laughing with you. Maybe she's the office worker who doesn't usually go out but joined her friends and found herself fascinated by the foreigner in the corner. This is where the challenge lies: learning to read the room. In China, nightlife isn't straightforward, and the rules change depending on the setting. In expat heavy bars, women are often more direct. In local clubs, shyness and curiosity mix with group dynamics. Women rarely come alone, and you'll usually have to engage with a group of friends. In KTV, every smile might have a price tag. And in underground music bars, authenticity shines through. But the crowd is smaller and harder to penetrate if you don't fit in. So, how do foreigners actually navigate this world? The secret is knowing when to lean in and when to step back. If a woman seems too eager, too polished, too quick to ask for drinks, step back. If she's genuinely curious, if she asks about your life, if she doesn't push for anything material, lean in. Learn to embrace the spaces where conversation flows naturally, where people are relaxed and where you can connect without wondering what's hiding behind the smile. Nightlife in China is a game of contrasts: bright lights and hidden agendas, genuine laughter and calculated performances. Fun that can easily flip into regret if you don't pay attention. But if you learn to spot the signs, if you treat every interaction as both an opportunity and a lesson, you'll find yourself in the sweet spot where foreigners really do have fun, really do meet women, and really do walk away with stories worth telling. So here's the question for you. Have you had your own experiences with nightlife in China? Did you stumble into a scam, or did you find those rare nights that felt unforgettable, where the energy was real and the connections genuine? Share your stories in the comments, because the truth is, every foreigner's journey is different, and your experience might be the exact lesson someone else needs before they step into their first Chinese nightclub.